Hello, friends! Today we're going to do lesson 9.10. We are talking about fractions, but not using those words necessarily today. Today we're going to talk about partitioning, which we've talked about already once before. That vocabulary word means to divide or separate. So today we're going to partition a rectangle into rows and columns. If you look, here's your I can statement. This document will also be on Schoology for you to go back to if you need extra support or if you don't remember what we talked about today. So your I can statement, I can partition a rectangle into rows and columns. Okay, it gives you the definition of each one of these words, partition, rows, and columns. Now, if you remember back to earlier in the year, we talked about arrays. These kind of look like arrays, and we talked about rows side to side and columns up and down. Okay, so that's what that means. Rows side to side, columns up and down. Okay, so partition means to separate or divide. This is what it would look like right here if we were to partition a rectangle into 3 rows and 4 columns. 3 rows side to side, 1, 2, 3, and 4 columns up and down, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you think about it, we're going to count how many are in the box all together. How many units are there? Units is how many parts there are in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 units. Okay, let's look at another example. Here we go. So here's another example right here for rows and columns. Remember, rows go side to side. So we're going to count how many rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 rows. So I'm going to put a 5 next to my rows. Okay, then I'm going to count my columns. My columns go up and down. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 columns. Then I need to figure out how many units there are all together. Now you can use repeated addition. We could go 5 plus 5 plus 5. 5, 5, 10, 15. We're going to count it 3 times. 5, 10, 15. So how many units are there? Right, there's 15 units all together. Good. My marker's kind of fat to be doing this like that, huh? Let's make a little bit of a skinnier marker. So you might see it like that, where you have to figure out how many rows and how many columns there are, and then how many units there are all together. Remember to use that repeated addition and think about it like an array, okay? But you also might have to do it where you have to make the rows and columns. So they want 2 rows, 2 side to side. So we want to try to partition it as evenly and equally as possible, okay? So I'm going to go here, and I am not good at making a straight line. You guys know that already. And then I'm going to go here. 2 rows. And then I need 3 columns. So I need to go 3 up and down. 1, 1, 2, 3. I did that wrong. Because how many rows do I have? 1, 2, 3. Whoops. I made a mistake because I wasn't paying attention. I thought I needed to make 2 lines, but I don't. I need 2 rows. So I just need to cut it in half. I just need to go down the middle so that I get 2 rows. Now I have 1, 2 rows, and then I need 3 columns. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Now I've got it right. 2 rows, 1, 2, and 3 columns. 1, 2, 3 columns. So how many units is that all together? I could go 2 plus 2 plus 2, or I could go 3 plus 3. So there are 6 units all together. Okay, so make sure, like me, make sure you go back and double check and count it again, because otherwise we wouldn't have had that correct. Okay, so we learned how to partition. Partition means to divide or separate. Okay, and rows are side to side, columns are up and down, units is the little parts in the middle. Okay, so knowing our fractions is going to help us out a little bit to partition these also, okay? Because it might say that you need to cut this rectangle into sixths. Well, then I could do that. I know that I need to have 6 parts in my rectangle. Okay, so for your worksheet for today, you are going to, the top part is you're going to look at each partitioned rectangle. You have to determine how many rows and columns there are, then count the total number of units. So how many rows, how many columns, how many units? Just like I did on that first one. Same thing here, how many rows, how many columns, and how many units. Now down here there are 4 problems, and I only copied 2 because I figured that that was a good enough example for you. You're going to partition each rectangle into the given number of rows and columns. So this one has 4 rows and 4 columns. So I need to make it to where it has 4 rows and 4 columns. Don't let this one right here that only has 2 rows trick you like mine did. Okay? Make sure you go back and count, and then count how many units you have in your whole rectangle. Remember, when we partition them, we want to try to keep them as equally spaced out as we can. Look how nicely these top 2 are spaced out. Do the very best that you can, making straight lines and partitioning them.